Staff Sergeant Derek Pullman gripped the reinforced leash with both hands. The Belgian Malinois on the other end lunged forward, 80 pounds of muscle and rage straining against the metal muzzle. Ajax, 4 years old, rescued from a conflict zone 8 months ago. 3 handlers attacked, 18 stitches, 0 progress. This is Ajax's final evaluation, Pullman announced into microphone, his voice carrying across the Camp Lund training field. Families and veterans watched from metal bleachers. If he can't be controlled today, he'll be humanely euthanized this evening. The crowd murmured. Parents pulled children closer. Then a man in a torn jacket stood up in the third row, boots held together with duct tape. Amber eyes that hadn't focused on anything in months suddenly locked onto the dog. Cole Reeves stepped over the fence and walked onto the field. And everything changed. Before we continue, we'd love to know where you're watching from. Leave a comment below with your city or country. If stories about second chances and unbreakable bonds inspire you, please subscribe. This narrative will show us that true understanding requires speaking a language deeper than words. Now let's continue. 3 weeks earlier, the rain had started at 2 a.m. under the Jefferson Bridge. Not the light kind, the kind that soaked through 4 layers of clothing and turned cardboard into mush. Cole Reeves pulled his military backpack closer, protecting 3 items: AK-9 training manual from 2008, a photo of him with a German shepherd named Titan, and an ultrasonic whistle no one else remembered how to use. Miguel Torres, 62, former Army medic, sat across from him wringing water from his wool cap. "You know what date is tomorrow?" Miguel asked. Cole didn't answer. He rarely spoke anymore. Big demonstration at Lejeune K9 program. Free meals for vets who show up. Cole's eyes flicked toward Miguel, then back to the rain. Miguel grinned, showing 3 missing teeth. Knew that get your attention. When's the last time you had a hot meal that wasn't from a dumpster? Cole's stomach answered for him. Come on, Nomad, Miguel said. 1 meal, that's all. The name hit Cole like shrapnel. Nomad, his call sign. He hadn't heard it in 4 years. Not since the day he walked out of the VA hospital and decided he didn't deserve to be called anything at all. But hunger made decisions easier. The next morning, they shuffled through the veteran entrance at Camp Lund. A young Marine barely glanced at their DD-214 discharge papers before waving them through. The base smelled like diesel fuel and cut grass. Families carried folding chairs toward the outdoor arena. Children ran ahead, excited. Cole and Miguel found seats in the bleachers with other veterans. A woman in a volunteer vest handed them styrofoam containers, meatloaf, mashed potatoes, green beans. Cole ate slowly, methodically, the way you eat when you don't know when the next meal is coming. The mechanical process of chewing, swallowing, not tasting, just fueling. Then a voice crackled over the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. I'm Staff Sergeant Derek Pullman, head instructor of the K9 program here at Camp Lejeune. Cole looked up. Pullman was young, maybe 34, clean uniform, confident stride, the kind of man who'd never failed at anything important. Today, we're going to discuss something difficult. Pullman continued, pacing the center of the arena. We're going to talk about the reality that not every military working dog can transition back to normal operations. A handler led a Belgian Malinois into the arena. The dog was muzzled, restrained by a leash that looked like it belonged on a wild animal. The dog pulled forward with enough force to drag the handler sideways. This is Ajax, Pullman said, his voice somber. He's a combat veteran, just like many of you here today. He served in a special operations unit overseas. He saved lives. But 8 months ago, he was extracted from a hostile zone and brought stateside for rehabilitation. The dog lunged again. The handler stumbled. Since his arrival, Ajax has attacked 3 qualified handlers. The most recent incident required 18 stitches and resulted in permanent nerve damage to the handler's left hand. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. We've exhausted every modern rehabilitation protocol. Pullman continued. Behavioral conditioning with certified animal psychologists, desensitization therapy, pharmacological intervention. Nothing has produced results. Today is Ajax's final evaluation. If we cannot establish safe control, he will be humanely euthanized at 1,700 hours. Cole's hands tightened around the styrofoam container. It cracked slightly. Miguel leaned close. That's messed up. Dog probably just needs someone who understands. But Cole wasn't listening. He was watching Ajax. The way the dog's ears rotated independently, scanning for sounds. The way his weight shifted before each lunge, not aggression, but calculation. The way his eyes fixed not on Pullman, but on the horizon beyond him, as if searching for something that no longer existed. Cole had seen that look before. In mirrors, in puddles, in the reflection of storefront windows. He passed on the street. Pullman handed the microphone to an assistant and approached Ajax. He knelt carefully, extending a gloved hand. Easy, boy. Easy now. Ajax's body coiled, then exploded forward. The muzzle clanged against Pullman's forearm guard with metallic crack that echoed across the arena. Pullman jerked back, maintaining his grip on the leash. See? Pullman stood, brushing dirt from his knee, addressing the crowd. Unprovoked aggression. This level of reactivity makes him unsuitable for any operational capacity. He's a liability. Something inside Cole snapped. Not anger, recognition. He stood up. Miguel grabbed his arm. Cole, what are you doing? But Cole was already moving. He stepped over the low barrier fence, boots crunching on gravel as he walked onto the field. His duct-tape boots left uneven prints in the dirt. A young corporal saw him first. Sir, this is a restricted area. Pullman turned, eyes narrowing. Security. We have an unauthorized individual on the training field. Cole kept walking, slow, deliberate. His eyes never left Ajax. The dog's head swiveled toward him, ears up, alert. Pullman stepped into Cole's path, blocking him. You need to leave now. Cole stopped, looked at Pullman, then passed him at Ajax. I can help, Cole said. His voice was rough from disuse. Help. Pullman's expression hardened. Listen, I don't know what you think you're doing, but this is a military working dog, not a pet. He's dangerous. I know. Do you? Pullman crossed his arms, looking Cole up and down. The torn jacket with holes at the elbows, the dirt on the fingernails, the hollow cheeks, the smell of someone who hadn't showered in days. Are you qualified to handle military working dogs? I was. Pullman's tone sharpened. When? 15 years. Marine Corps K-9 handler. Pullman's expression softened slightly, but skepticism remained. You're a veteran. Okay, I respect that. But this isn't the 2000s anymore, brother. Training. Protocols have evolved. We use evidence-based methodologies now. You don't know this dog. You don't know his triggers, his trauma profile. As I know enough. Cole interrupted quietly. From the bleachers, Miguel stood up, shouting over the crowd noise. That's Nomad. That's Cole Reeves. Check his service file. Several veterans in the crowd turned to look at Miguel, then at Cole. Pullman's radio crackled. Staff Sergeant Colonel Finch is asking what's happening down there. Pullman pressed the radio to his mouth. Ma'am, we have a situation. A homeless veteran claims he can handle Ajax. Says his name is Cole Reeves. Call sign Nomad. Static. Then a woman's voice sharp with surprise. Did you say Nomad? Yes, ma'am. A longer pause. Stand by. Pullman lowered the radio, studying Cole with new eyes. You're telling me you're the Nomad, the one from the Afghanistan handler reports. Cole said nothing. Because if you are, you've got one hell of a file. But that was 4 years ago. And your Pullman gestured vaguely at Cole's appearance. You're not exactly operational anymore. Neither is he, Cole said, nodding toward Ajax. The radio crackled again. Staff Sergeant Pullman, this is Colonel Finch. Let him try. Pullman's face went pale. Ma'am, if he gets injured, that's an order. Staff Sergeant, clear the area and let Reeves work. Pullman stared at the radio. Then at Cole, he stepped aside slowly. Your funeral, he muttered. What Cole didn't know was that at that exact moment, 200 yards away in the command office overlooking the field, Colonel Andrea Finch was pulling up a file she hadn't thought about in years. The screen displayed a black and white photo of a younger Cole Reeves in dress uniform standing at attention. Below it, lines of text classified K-9 Special Operations Handler. Call sign Nomad. Commendations, Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal. 3. Purple Heart, Combat Action Ribbon. Specialization, high-risk K-9 rehabilitation and handler training. She scrolled through mission reports, incident logs, performance reviews. Every report said the same thing. When a dog couldn't be controlled, when a handler couldn't connect, when AK-9 unit faced impossible odds, you called Nomad, and within 72 hours, the problem was solved. Finch leaned forward, reading the final entry. Medical discharge, March 2012. PTSD recommended for ongoing VA treatment. The date sent a chill through her. March 2012, the Sanjin incident. She remembered that report. 2 Marines killed, 1 K-9 fatality. The handler had ignored the dog's alert under pressure from command. Finch's jaw tightened. She looked through the window at the figure in the torn jacket, walking slowly toward Ajax. "You poor bastard," she whispered. "You've been carrying that for 4 years." She picked up a radio. "All security personnel, stand down. Do not interfere. Repeat, do not interfere." Cole walked toward Ajax. The handler holding the leash looked at Pullman. Pullman nodded once. The handler released a leash and stepped back quickly, putting 15 feet between himself and the dog. Ajax didn't charge. He stood there trembling, not with fear, with restraint. Every muscle coiled tight, eyes locked on Cole. The crowd held its breath. Cole stopped 3 away. Then he did something no one expected. He lowered himself to his knees. Vulnerable, non-threatening, his torn jeans pressed into the dirt. He reached into his jacket pocket slowly and pulled out a black nylon collar. Faded, worn. The name Titan stitched into it in white thread that had yellowed with age and weather. He held it in his left hand where Ajax could see it. Then he reached into his backpack with his right hand and retrieved a small metal whistle. It was tarnished, scratched, but intact. He brought it to his lips and blew. No sound emerged, at least none that human ears could detect. But Ajax's ears shot straight up. His entire body went rigid. He took 1 step forward, then stopped as if waiting for permission. Cole blew the whistle again, still silent to crowd, but Ajax's head tilted, processing. Then Cole spoke, not in English. "Bialur, Pashto, come son." Ajax's eyes widened, his tail, which had been tucked, lifted slightly. Cole repeated the phrase softer, adding a second command. "Kabul, Sector 7. It wasn't just language. It was code and operation designation used by Joint K-9 units in Afghanistan between 2010 and 2012, specific to a tunnel clearing operation in Karbel's 7th sector that involved Marine and British SAS forces. Only handlers who'd worked that mission would know the phrase. Only dogs who'd survived it would remember. Ajax began to shake, not with aggression, with recognition, with memory. His breathing changed. Faster, shallower. Cole extended his hand, palm down, showing the collar. His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "You're not broken, soldier. You're just waiting for someone who speaks your language." He took a slow breath and gave the final command, the one that mattered. "Nomad clear. Stand down." Ajax's legs buckled. He let out a sound, a whimper high and broken that no one in that arena had ever heard him make. A sound of relief, of release. He lowered his head, walked forward on shaking legs, and lay down at Cole's feet, pressing his body against Cole's knees. The crowd erupted. Lieutenant Sarah Briggs, the 28-year-old handler who'd been attacked 2 weeks earlier, covered her mouth with both hands. Her knees gave out. She grabbed Pullman's shoulder to steady herself, her bandaged right arm shaking. "Oh my God," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Oh my God, how did he?" Dr. Samuel Ortiz, the base veterinarian holding a sedative syringe, dropped it. The glass shattered on the dirt. He didn't notice. He removed his glasses, cleaned them with his shirt, put them back on as if his vision had betrayed him. "That's impossible," he muttered. "That's medically impossible." Corporal Ethan Cross, the security officer who'd been approaching Cole with his hand on his sidearm, froze mid-step. His hand fell away from his weapon. He looked at Pullman, waiting for orders that didn't come. Miguel Torres, tears pouring down his weathered face, climbed over the bleacher railing and jumped down to the gravel. He ran toward the fence, shouting, I told you it was him. That's Nomad. That's the legend. Other veterans in the crowd started standing, clapping, some crying, some silent, just watching. Amy Lawson, the 37-year-old journalist from the Jacksonville Daily News, lowered her camera with trembling hands, then immediately raised again, firing off shot after shot, the motor drive worrying. Tears blurred her viewfinder. This is Pulitzer, she whispered to herself. This is actually Pulitzer. Oh my God! On the elevated platform overlooking the field, Colonel Andrea Finch stood slowly, the papers in her hands, Ajax's euthanasia authorization forms, slipped from her fingers and scattered across the floor. She didn't bend to pick them up. She just stared. Her aide, a young lieutenant, stood beside her, mouth open. Ma'am, should I get me everything? Finch said quietly. Reeves' full service record, his medical file, his discharge papers, every piece of documentation we have. Bring it to my office in 10 minutes. Yes, ma'am. Finch leaned on the railing, watching Cole kneel in the dirt with Ajax press against him. Welcome back, Marine, she said to herself. Staff Sergeant Derek Pullman stood motionless in the center of the arena. The leash he'd been holding lay in the dirt at his feet. He stared at Cole, then at Ajax, calm, breathing, steady, no tension in his body, then back at Cole. He removed his cap slowly, ran a hand through his short hair. His confident expression had shattered completely. Who? His voice cracked. He cleared his throat. Who the hell are you? Cole didn't look at him. He kept his eyes on Ajax, his hand resting gently on the dog's head. Ajax leaned into the touch, eyes half closed. Someone who remembers, Cole said quietly. Pullman shook his head. I've been training K-9 units for 8 years. I have certifications from 3 different behavioral institutes. I've read every study, every paper, every stopped, and you just walked out here and fixed him in 30 seconds. How? Cole finally looked up at him. You tried to dominate him. We tried to rehabilitate him using proven methods. Same thing, Cole said. He scratched behind Ajax's ear. The dog's eyes closed fully. He's not aggressive. He's defensive. Different problem. Lieutenant Briggs approached carefully, keeping her distance, her bandaged arm held close to her body. Mr. Reeves, she said softly, the attacks. We thought he was unstable. We thought he'd been traumatized beyond recovery. He was traumatized, Cole said, but not the way you think. Then what? Briggs knelt down several feet away. What did we miss? Cole watched Ajax's breathing. In, out. Steady now. Look at his posture, Cole said. Look at how his weight distributes when someone approaches him heeding. He's not attacking. He's executing a protocol. Protocol? Pullman moved closer, his skepticism replaced by genuine curiosity. He's scanning for IEDs, Cole said. When you approach him directly, he reads it as a threat breach. He thinks he's still on mission. He thinks he's protecting his unit from forward advancing hostiles. Dr. Ortiz joined them, careful not to get too close. But we've had him for 8 months. We've used every desensitization technique. Why didn't they work? Because you were treating symptoms, Cole said, not the cause, which is Cole looked at Pullman. Did anyone check his original training records where he was first deployed? What unit he served with? Pullman hesitated. We received him from a transfer facility in Germany. The records were incomplete. We assumed he was a standard patrol dog. He's not. Cole said the Pashto commands the operational code. Kabul Sector 7. That was a joint op in 2011. Marines and British SAS clearing a Taliban tunnel network. The dogs we used for that mission were trained in local languages because we were working with Afghan contractors. The mission lasted 6 weeks. 43 tunnels, 17 IEDs detected. 3 dogs killed in action. The group fell silent. Ajax was there, Cole continued. And he never left. Not mentally. Every day for 8 months. He's been waiting for someone to give him the right orders in the right language. You weren't failing to rehabilitate him. You just weren't speaking his language. Briggs' hand covered her mouth again. Oh, God. We've been punishing him for doing his job. Not punishing, Cole said. Misunderstanding. Miguel finally reached him out of breath, grinning. He put a hand on Cole's shoulder. For years, Hermano. For years you've been under that bridge, and you never said a word about who you were. Cole didn't respond. You're Nomad. Miguel pressed. The handler from the Afghan reports. Everyone thought you were a ghost story. I'm nobody, Cole said quietly. Miguel said you just saved this dog's life. Cole shook his head. I just reminded him. He's still a soldier. The approach of boots on gravel made everyone turn. Colonel Andrea Finch walked across the field, her aide trailing behind with a tablet. She was a tall woman, 49 years old, with silver streaks in her black hair and an expression that could command a room without a word. She stopped in front of Cole. Stand up, Marine, she said. Cole hesitated. Ajax shifted, sensing the tension. Cole touched the dog's head once reassuringly, then slowly got to his feet. His knees cracked audibly. Finch studied him. Up close, she could see the damage where years on the street had done, the premature age lines, the hollow cheeks, the scars on his hands, the way he stood, still straight, still disciplined, but brittle, like a structure held together by memory rather than strength. Cole Reeves, she said. Cole signed Nomad, served 15 years, 3 tours Iraq, 2 tours Afghanistan, 14 K9 partnerships, 0 mission failures. Recipient of the Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal with V-Device Purple Heart Combat Action Ribbon, medically discharged March 2012, and you've been living under a bridge for 4 years. Cole said nothing. Why? Finch asked. Mom, why didn't you come back? We have programs, resources. You could have. I didn't deserve them, Cole said. The words hung in the air like smoke. Finch's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Understanding, maybe, or recognition. Sang, she said quietly. March 14th, 2012. The compound clearing operation. Cole's jaw tightened. I read the report. Finch continued. Your K-9 partner detected an IED. You were ordered to proceed anyway. 2 Marines were killed. Your dog was fatally wounded protecting you. Cole's hands clenched into fists at his sides. That wasn't your fault, Marine, Finch said. Doesn't matter. It absolutely matters, Finch said, her voice firm. You followed orders. The failure was command, not yours. I knew better, Cole said, his voice low. Titan alerted. He never alerted unless he was certain, and I ignored him. I trusted a man with a radio instead of a dog with 3 years of field work. That's on me. No one else. Finch was quiet for a moment. Then she gestured to Ajax, still lying calmly at Cole's feet. This dog was 48 hours from being euthanized. She said, every handler on this base tried to reach him. Every trainer, every specialist. We threw resources, expertise, time at the problem. Nothing worked. You walked onto this field and solved it in 30 seconds. You think that's an accident? Cole looked at Ajax. I just spoke his language. Exactly. Finch said, you understood something we forgot. These dogs aren't machines. They're not problems to solve with protocols and procedures. They're soldiers, and soldiers need someone who understands what they've been through. She glanced at her aide, who handed her the tablet. She scrolled for a moment, then turned it to show Cole. Your training record, she said, for 5 years. You were the specialist we called when handlers couldn't connect with their dogs. It says here, you rehabilitated 47 K9 partnerships. 47 dogs that other trainers had given up on. Not one failed to achieve mission-ready status under your supervision. That was a long time ago, Cole said. It was 4 years ago, Finch corrected. And based on what I just witnessed, you haven't lost a skill. She lowered the tablet. I'm offering you a position, Mr. Reeves, civilian contractor. You'll work with our K9 program as a rehabilitation specialist. Your job will be to train handlers and work with dogs we've designated as unrecoverable salary commensurate with GS-11 federal pay scale. Housing on base, full medical benefits, including mental health services through the VA. Cole stared at her. I can't, he said. Why not? Because I'll fail again. Maybe, Finch said. Or maybe you'll save lives the way you just did. Miguel stepped forward. Cole, don't be an idiot. Take the offer. Cole shook his head. You don't understand. I broke the first rule. Trust the dog. I didn't. So I don't get to do this anymore. I don't get to. To what? Finch interrupted. To have a second chance. To use the skills you spent 15 years developing. To help dogs and handlers who need exactly what you can offer. Cole's throat tightened. Finch softened her tone slightly. I've been in command for 12 years. I've seen a lot of things. And one thing I've learned is that the people who think they don't deserve second chances are usually the ones who need them most. She paused. What happens to him? Cole asked quietly, nodding toward Ajax. If you accept he's yours, Finch said, Ajax will be officially assigned to you as your permanent partner. You'll oversee his continued rehabilitation and eventual certification. Cole looked down at Ajax. The dog's eyes were open now, watching him, trusting. Cole closed his eyes, felt the weight of 4 years pressing down. For years of cold nights under bridges, for years of shame, for years of believing he was broken beyond repair. But Ajax leaned against his leg. Warm, present, alive. Cole opened his eyes. One condition, he said. Name it. I want to start a program for homeless veterans, men and women like me who fell through the cracks. Train them as handlers. Pair them with dogs like Ajax. Dogs everyone else has given up on. Finch considered this. That's a tall order. Funding facilities, oversight. If it works, it saves 2 lives at once, Cole said. The veteran and the dog. Finch looked at Pullman. Staff sergeant, professional assessment. Pullman removed his cap again, a gesture of respect. Ma'am, I thought I knew everything about K-9 training. I was wrong. If Reeves says this approach will work, I believe him. Finch nodded slowly, then extended her hand to Cole. You've got yourself a deal, Mr. Reeves. Welcome back. Cole looked at her hand for a long moment, then took it. The crowd erupted in applause. What Cole couldn't see was at this moment, this handshake would ripple outward in ways he couldn't imagine. Within 24 hours, Amy Lawson's article would hit the front page of the Jacksonville Daily News. Within 48 hours, it would be picked up by the Associated Press. Within a week, major news networks would be calling. And within a month, the photo of Cole kneeling in the dirt with Ajax would become one of the most shared images of the year. But right now, none of that mattered. Right now, Cole just had to decide whether he was ready to trust himself again, whether he was ready to believe that broken things could still be useful. 3 months later, Cole stood in front of a renovated barracks building on the edge of Camp Legion. The sign above the door read, K-9 Rehabilitation and Veteran Reintegration Program, EST 2026. Inside, 5 homeless veterans worked with 5 dogs, each pairing carefully selected. Each dog deemed too dangerous or too traumatized to continue in service. Each veteran carrying wounds that couldn't be seen on an X-ray. Miguel Torres, now clean-shaven and wearing a program t-shirt, worked with a German shepherd named Sarge. The dog had been returned from deployment after biting a lieutenant during a PTSD episode. Miguel, who struggled with his own PTSD from his time in Fallujah, understood. Within 2 weeks, Sarge was walking off-leash. Within 6 weeks, they'd been certified for therapy dog work at the local VA hospital. James Doc Henderson, a 49-year-old former Navy corpsman who'd been living in his car for 3 years, worked with a Belgian Malinois named Ghost. The dog had been found chained to a fence outside a veterinary clinic in Tampa, half-starved, covered in scars. No one knew his history. No one could get near him except Doc, who moved slowly, spoke softly, and seemed to understand that some wounds take longer to heal. Linda Reyes, a 38-year-old former Army logistics specialist, and the only woman in the program, partnered with Bella, a Labrador mix who'd been rescued from an illegal fighting operation. Bella was terrified of men, aggressive toward anyone who moved too quickly, and had been scheduled for euthanasia. Linda, who'd survived military sexual trauma and lived in a women's shelter for 2 years, was the first person Bella allowed to touch her. The program was small, underfunded, operating on a shoestring budget and donated supplies. But it was working. Cole walked through the training area, Ajax at his side. The dog never left him now. Not during training sessions. Not during meals. Not at night. When Cole woke up gasping from nightmares about Sangon, Ajax would simply rest his head on Cole's chest, a warm weight that said, "I'm here. You're not alone." Lieutenant Sarah Briggs had requested to train under Cole. Every morning at 600, she met him on the training field. She'd learned to read body language before giving commands, to listen to the silence between movements, to trust the dog's instincts over her own assumptions. "I thought control came from dominance," she'd told Cole during their third week together. "You taught me it comes from understanding." Staff Sergeant Pullman had become an unexpected ally. He'd integrated Cole's methods into the official K-9 training curriculum. During a base-wide meeting, he'd stood in front of 50 handlers and admitted he'd been wrong. That progress wasn't about replacing old techniques with new ones. It was about remembering why the old ones worked in the first place. "Modern tools are important," Pullman had said, "but they don't mean anything if we forget the foundation. These dogs aren't equipment. They're partners." And Cole Reeves reminded us what that actually means. 6 months after the demonstration, Amy Lawson's article went viral. The photo Cole on his knees, Ajax lying at his feet, the crowd blurred in the background, was shared millions of times across social media. News outlets picked it up. Veterans groups shared it. Even people who'd never served, who'd never known a military working dog, felt something when they saw that image. It wasn't just about a dog being saved. It was about what that moment represented. That being broken doesn't mean being finished. Donations started arriving, small at first. $20 from a retired teacher in Ohio. $50 from a college student in California who'd never met a veteran but was moved by the story. Then larger amounts. Her $1,000 from a veteran-owned business in Texas. $5,000 from a foundation dedicated to PTSD research. Within a year, the program expanded. 20 veterans, 30 dogs, then 50 other military bases started calling. Could this model be replicated? Could they send their problem dogs to Cole? Could they send their trainers to learn his methods? Cole avoided the media, declined every interview request, refused to appear on television or give speeches. But he agreed to write one statement, which Colonel Finch released on his behalf. "Broken soldiers understand broken dogs. We speak the same language. We know what it's like to be written off, to be told you're too damaged, too dangerous, too far gone. But we also know something else. We know that being broken doesn't mean being useless. It just means you need someone who's willing to look past the scars and see what's still there. This program isn't about saving dogs. It's about reminding veterans that they still have something to offer, that their war isn't over. It just looks different now. Every dog we save is a veteran we bring back. And every veteran we bring back is a reminder that second chances aren't just possible, they're necessary." 1 year after the demonstration, Cole stood in the same arena where everything had changed. It was graduation day for the program's third cohort. 15 veterans, 15 dogs, all certified for various roles: therapy work, search and rescue, emotional support, facility security. Colonel Finch stood at the podium addressing a crowd 3 times larger than the one a year ago. "This program exists because one man refused to accept that some lives are disposable," she said. Cole Reeves reminded us that the most valuable skill in any military isn't physical strength or tactical knowledge. It's empathy, the ability to see someone at their absolute lowest point and believe they can rise. The crowd applauded. Cole stood off to the side, uncomfortable with the attention. Ajax sat beside him, calm and alert. The dog wore a new collar now, dark blue, with his name embroidered in silver thread, but the old collar, Titan's collar, still rested in Cole's pocket. He carried it everywhere, a reminder of the cost of not listening, of not trusting. After the ceremony, as families congratulated the graduates and cameras flashed, a young woman approached. She couldn't have been older than 22, Marine Corps uniform, private first-class insignia. She held the leash of a German shepherd. The dog was thin with visible scars across his flanks and a haunted look in his eyes. "Mr. Reeves," she said quietly. Cole turned. "I'm Private Henson." This is Blitz. Her voice wavered. He was my brother's K-9 partner. My brother was killed in action 9 months ago. Ambush outside Kabul. Blitz. He hasn't been the same since. The VA was going to euthanize him. But I heard about your program. I drove 16 hours to get here. Cole looked at the dog. Blitz's eyes were distant, locked on something no one else could see. Cole knelt down slowly, extended his hand palm down, non-threatening. Blitz sniffed cautiously. Then his tail gave one small wag. Cole looked up at the young woman, saw the hope and desperation in her eyes, saw the grief she was carrying, the need to save something, anything, from the wreckage of her loss. Yeah, Cole said softly. We can help him. Private Henson's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. Thank you so much. Cole stood, his hand resting gently on Blitz's head. What was your brother's name? Corporal David Henson. Call sign Jericho. Cole nodded. Blitz is carrying his memory. We'll help him carry it without it breaking him. This story teaches us something essential that transcends military service, dog training, or even redemption itself. It reveals a fundamental truth about human nature, that our greatest wounds can become our most powerful tools for healing others. Cole Reeves spent 4 years believing he didn't deserve a second chance. For years punishing himself for a single decision made under impossible circumstances. For years convinced that his brokenness disqualified him from being useful. But when he saw Ajax, he didn't see a dangerous animal. He saw himself. And in that moment of recognition, everything changed. We live in a world that's quick to discard what's broken. Dogs, people, veterans, systems. We measure value by current functionality rather than potential. We see scars and assume damage beyond repair. We see struggle and call it failure. But Cole's story reminds us that brokenness isn't the end of the story. It's often the beginning of a different one. The veterans in his program didn't need pity. They needed purpose. The dogs didn't need to be put down. They needed to be understood. And understanding only came from someone who'd walked through the same fire. Every person you pass on the street has a story. The homeless veteran at the intersection, the woman sitting alone at the bus stop, the man with haunted eyes staring at nothing in a coffee shop. Some of them are waiting, not for rescue, not for charity, but for someone to recognize that their war isn't over. It just looks different now. Cole didn't save Ajax that day in the arena. He reminded Ajax that he was still a soldier, still useful, still worthy of trust. And in doing so, he reminded himself of the same thing. That's the lesson we all need to hear. That second chances aren't given. They're created through courage, through empathy, through the willingness to look at something broken and ask not what's wrong with it, but what does it need? The answer is usually simpler than we think. Ajax didn't need drugs or complex behavioral protocols. He needed someone who spoke his language. The veterans in Cole's program didn't need lectures or treatment plans. They needed to be trusted with something that mattered. And Cole didn't need forgiveness from anyone else. He needed to learn to forgive himself. To accept that being human means making mistakes. That carrying guilt doesn't honor the dead. It just creates more casualties. That's what this story is really about. Not dogs or military service or homelessness. It's about the moment when we decide whether our past defines us or refines us, whether our wounds disqualify us or prepare us for the exact work we're meant to do. Cole Reeves chose refinement. He chose to let his brokenness become a bridge instead of a barrier. And in doing so, he built something that saves 2 lives at once. The veteran and the dog. The person who's lost and the one who's waiting to be found. That's not a military story. That's a human story. And it's one we all need to remember. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that second chances are possible, that heroes can be found in the most unexpected places, please subscribe to our channel. And right now on your screen, you'll see another powerful narrative waiting for you. Click it, watch it, and remember, every person you pass on the street has a story. Some of them might just be legendary. Thank you for watching.